Hello and welcome everyone to the daily news analysis of 21st of October 2023। तो चलिए आज के इम्पोर्टेंट आर्टिकल्स हिंदू न्यूज़पेपर से वन बाय वन देख लेते हैं। पहला जो है, डिड नॉट वायोलेट डिप्लोमेटिक नॉर्म्स इंडिया टेल्स कनाडा। नेक्स्ट है, इजराइल सेज इट वोंट कंट्रोल गाजा सिविलियंस पोस्ट वॉर। पीएम फ्लैग्स ऑफ कंट्रीज फास्ट रीजनल रैपिड ट्रांजिट सिस्टम नमो भारत। देन इरेडिकेट मैनुअल स्कैवेंजिंग, सुप्रीम कोर्ट टेल्स सेंटर एंड स्टेट्स। देन एडिटोरियल का पर्सन जो है, प्रोस्टिटाइज मिस्ड अपॉर्चुनिटी। देन आर्मी हेल्ड ओवर 400 मीटिंग्स विद सिविल सोसाइटी ग्रुप्स एज पार्ट ऑफ मेरी माटी मेरा देश। रेलवे प्लान्स स्पेशल ट्रेन्स टू। देन नेक्स्ट है, गगनयान मिशन इसरो इज सेट टू फॉर फास्टेस्ट फ्लाइट टुडे। नेक्स्ट है, नो पॉलिटिकल स्ट्रिंग्स in our support sea to Sri Lanka. Then global uncertainties have risen over the past fortnight, according to RBI's chief Shaktikant Das. Malaysia eyes India to boost tourism via rustic homestays. तो चलिए देखते हैं वन बाय वन। पहला जो है, डिड नॉट वायोलेट डिप्लोमेटिक नॉर्म्स इंडिया टेल्स कनाडा। India did not violate the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations by asking 41 Canadian diplomats to be repatriated, the Ministry of External Affairs asserted on Friday in response to Canadian Foreign Minister Manas Ranjan, who had accused India of violating diplomatic norms by seeking a reduction in the number of Canadian diplomats posted in India. Mr. Jolie, Mrs. Jolie had earlier announced that due to the reduced number of officials, Canada was forced to stop in-person services as its consulates in Chandigarh, Mumbai and Bengaluru. Such services will now be available only in the High Commission in Delhi. We have been engaged with the Canadian side on this side over the last month in order to work out the details and modalities of its implementation. Our actions in implementing this parity are fully consistent with Article 11.1 of the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations, the MEA said in a statement, accusing the Canadian government of maintaining a much higher number of diplomats in India. The MEA said that the reduction was necessitated by Canada's continued interference in the India's internal affairs. We reject any attempt to portray the implementation of parity as a violation of international norms, the statement said. A source further informed that India's decision to seek parity was not sudden and was conveyed to Canada around a month back, with the deadlines of October 10 being extended till October 20 subsequently in consultation with the Canadian side. Earlier, the Canadian Foreign Minister confirmed that Ottawa had acknowledged India's move to take away diplomatic immunities from its 41 diplomats along with 42 dependents stationed in Delhi. A unilateral revocation of diplomatic privileges and immunities is contrary to international law, including the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations. Mrs. Jolie told the Canadian media, "This action taken by India is completely unreasonable and escalatory. India accredited each and every one of the Canadian diplomats that they are now expelling," she added. Immigration, refugees, and citizenship Canada IRCC will continue to accept and process applications from India. However, certain application requirements will need to be completed locally or on site in a secure environment. As a result, the reduction in size of IRCC's team will affect service standards for residents of India, the foreign ministry added. An Indian source had claimed that reduction in the number of Canadian diplomats in India, in fact, did not impact the staff requirement in the Canadian consulate in Bengaluru, Chandigarh, and Mumbai, saying the Canadian decision to seize operation of their three consulate is unilateral and not related to the implementation of parity. Then next, Israel says it won't control Gaza civilian post-war. Israel bombarded the Gaza Strip early Friday, hitting areas where Palestinians had been told to seek safety, and it began evacuating an Israeli town near the Lebanon border, the latest sign of a political potential ground invasion of Gaza that could trigger regional turmoil amid the fighting. Israel Defense Minister Yoav Gallant said the country did not have plans to maintain control over civilians in Gaza after its war against Hamas. His comments to lawmakers were the first time a top Israeli official discussed its long-term plan for Gaza. Mr. Gallant said Israel expected a three-phase war starting with airstrikes and ground maneuvers. It anticipates then defeating pockets of resistance and finally seizing Israel's responsibility for life in the Gaza Strip. Palestinians in Gaza reported heavy airstrikes in Khan Yunis. Ambulances carrying men, women, and children streaming into the local Nasser hospital. The hospital, Gaza's second largest, already was overflowing with patients and people seeking shelter. Over 100 target hits. The Israel military said it had struck more than 100 targets across Gaza linked to the territories Hamas rulers, including a tunnel and arms depot. UN officials said with the bombing across all of the Gaza, some Palestinians who had fled the north appeared to be going back. Gaza's overwhelmed hospitals are rationing their dwelling, medical supplies and fuel generators as authorities worked out logistics for a desperate needed aid delivery from Egypt. The deal to get aid into Gaza through the territory's only entry point controlled by Israel remained fragile. Israel said the supplies could only go to civilians and that it would thwart any diversion by Hamas. More than 200 trucks and 3,000 tons of aid were positioned or at or near the crossing in Rafah, a city that straddled northern Egypt and southern Gaza. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres visited the crossing Friday and appealed for the quick movement of aid into Gaza. Thousands of people in Muslim countries and beyond held demonstrations Friday in solidarity with Palestinians in Gaza Strip. In an address from the Oval Office on Thursday, US President Joe Biden again pledged on unwavering support from the Israel security while saying the world cannot ignore the humanity of innocent Palestinians in Gaza. Mr. Biden linked the current war in Gaza to the Russian invasion of Ukraine, saying Hamas and Russian President Vladimir Putin both want to completely annihilate a neighboring democracy. The Gaza Health Ministry said 4,137 people have been killed in Gaza since the war began. The majority women, children, and older adults. More than 400 people in Israel have been killed, mostly civilians slain during Hamas' deadly incursion. Roughly 200 others were abducted. The next, a PM flags of country's first regional rapid transit system called Namo Bharat. Prime Minister Narendra Modi flagged off the country's first regional rapid transit system (RRTS) on Friday, calling the Namo Bharat train a glimpse of India's promising future. Mr. Modi purchased a ticket and took a ride with his school children on 17 kilometer stretch from the Sahibabad to Duhai depot in Uttar Pradesh. The full 82-kilometer Delhi Ghaziabad Meerut corridor is scheduled to be functional by 2025. The Namo Bharat train is defining the new journey of New India and its new resolution. The Delhi Meerut stretch is just the beginning as the first phase will see many areas of Delhi, Uttar Pradesh, Haryana and Rajasthan being connected. In the coming days, a similar system will be created in other parts of the country to improve connectivity and create a new avenues of employment, Mr. Modi said, addressing a gathering after the event, pointing out that he had laid the foundation stone of the project 4 years ago and had now come back to inaugurate it. Mr. Modi said that his government delivered what it had promised. The rest of the project will be completed in 1.5 years. At that time also I will be present at your service, Mr. Modi said, showing confidence that he would return for a third term as PM. Delhi Meerut in an hour. The RRTS is a new rail-based semi-high-speed, high-frequency commuter transit system with a design speed of 180 km per hour. It is a regional development initiative which is designed to provide high-speed trains for intercity commuting every 15 minutes, going up to a frequency of every 5 minutes when required. Developed at a cost of more than 30,000 crores rupees, the train will allow a commuter to travel between Delhi and Meerut in less than an hour. A total of 8 RRTS corridors have been identified for development in the National Capital Region. The 3 RRTS corridors have been prioritized for implementation in the first phase: Delhi Ghaziabad, Meerut, Delhi Gurugram, SNB, Alwar, Delhi, and Delhi Panipat. Official in the Housing and Urban Affairs Ministry said the rapid transit system being developed in the country is a state of the art regional mobility solution comparable to the best in the world. The next day, eradicating manual scavenging, Supreme Court tells center and states. The Supreme Court on Friday said claims of fraternity, equality, and dignity among citizens remain a mere illusion if a sizable section of society is forced to enter sewers for a living and diet rapport in them even a decade after the outlawing of the human practice of manual scavenging. A bench headed by Justice S.R. Bhatt held the union and the states duty bound to the pledge to completely eradicate manual scavenging through the stringent implementation of the Prohibition of Employment as Manual Scavenger and their Rehabilitation Act 2013. Each of us owe to this large segment of the population who have remained unseen, unheard, and muted in bondage, systematically trapped in human conditions. Justice Bhatt ruled the court enhanced the compensation payable for sewer deaths to 30 lakh rupees from the earlier 10 lakh rupees. Upon all of us citizens lie to the duty of realizing true fraternity. It is not without reason that our constitution has placed a great emphasis on value of dignity and fraternity. But for these two, all other liberties are chimera. Justice Bhatt read out experts from the judgment. The case was listed on February 1, 2024 for the furthering monitoring. 2020 petition. The court had taken judicial notice of the petition filed in 2020 by Balram Singh, which highlighted that people were still dying in sewers through the practice was banned with the though the practice was banned with the introduction of employment and construction of dry latrines Prohibition Act 1993 and the Prohibition of Employment as a Manual Scavengers and their Rehabilitation Act 2013. The top court itself had reinforced the prohibition and directed the rehabilitation of people traditionally and otherwise engaged in the practice in its judgment. The next step, Frosty ties. India and Canada are headed for an even frustier season in ties after the Ministry of External Affairs' latest move to par down the number of Canadian diplomats in India from 62 to 21, while the New Delhi had made its demand to equalize the number in each other's missions noon last month in the ferry after math of the Trudeau government's allegation that India had a role in killing the Canadian national and Khalistani activist Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Matters were thought to have cooled down. It had been hoped that quiet diplomacy was at work to repair ties. However, Canada continues to hold without proffering any further proof that India must cooperate in its investigation against unmanned Indian officials. While India is standing by measures it has taken in reprisal last month after the tit for tat explosion of their respective diplomats from the security agencies. The Modi government suspended visas for all Canadians and demanded the downsizing of Canadian diplomatic strength. This week, India issued an ultimatum for the removal of the two-thirds of those numbers with a deadline of October 31, after which India would unilaterally withdraw diplomatic immunity. As a result, Canada's foreign ministry flew out 41 of its diplomats and their families, calling India's demand a violation of international law, including the Vienna Convention. The MEA has retorted that the Convention Article 11 Point 1 does authorize India to require that the size of a mission be kept within limits. Canada has also conveyed that with staffing shortages, now consulate in person visa services would no longer be provided. The Canadian immigration minister has added that India's move would not deter Canada's prosecution in Niger case. The development indicate that if there had been any diplomatic effort to defuse the situation in the past, they have been fruitless. Apart from the Modi Trudeau and the National Security Advisor meeting that had discussed the Niger case, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar had reported met Canadian Foreign Minister Melanie Joly in the US on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly. None of those appears to have turned the trajectory of events. Attempts by the Canada's Five Eyes allies to mediate have not worked either. While the allies have supported Canada's claim, they have also shored up their ties with India with possible visits by the British, US, and Australian leaders that will assure New Delhi with diplomatic options exhausted for now. It is hoped a period of reflection will bring fresh counsel on how to break the logjam. Till then, students, tourists, and business persons will suffer. Missed opportunity. In the recent Australian referendum on the voice, a proposed body comprising members of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people to advise the country's parliament on laws impacting these vulnerable groups. Voters dropped the plans by resounding 60% margins, rejecting an opportunity to amend their constitution for the first time in almost 50 years towards a more inclusive ethos. The idea of the referendum came from a historic 2017 summit of indigenous people which announced that the Uluru Statement from the heart and called for a treaty between the Australian government and the indigenous community as well as the commission to promote truth telling about our history. In March 2023, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese announced a plan to hold the referendum, arguing that the voice would formalize the recognition that Australians who arrived from elsewhere share this great island continent with the world's oldest continuous culture. On the one hand, the voice was seen by its supporters as the means to enable consultation between lawmaker and indigenous community leaders on policies to address, for example, the shorter life expectancy of this group relative to non-indigenous Australian and their considerably low health care and education attainment and higher incarceration rate. However, its critics posited that the voice might split Australian along the racial lines while failing to reduce the disadvantages felt by the indigenous people and opening the door to compensation and reparations claims. The No campaign advocates, including prominent members of the indigenous community, also urged that at 4.8% of parliament, which is more than the proportion of indigenous people in the total population, the group already enjoyed fair representation. Indeed, several indigenous leaders have argued that they would prefer to see a legally binding negotiated agreement between the government and First Nation people. Mr. Albanese has now called for unity across Australian society while standing by his decision to hold the referendum. While it remains to be seen whether he will, as he has indicated, he intends to hold a referendum if he wins another term in 2025. In the broader arc of history, the country has made the chance to take forward the conversion on building a more harmonious future for all Australians, whether by the voice a binding treaty or more pro-indigenous intention and action by lawmakers. Unless the human development indicators and life prospects of the indigenous people are brought to parity with those of Australians, the country's socio-economic progress will be hobbled by an unsettled questions of justice from its colonial past. Then, as part of Meri Mati Meri Desh, Railways plans a special train to Indian Railways will operate special trains to transport volunteers carrying mitti soil from state capital and other major stations across the country to reach New Delhi on October 29. The initiative is part of Meri Mati Mera Desh, My Soil My Country campaign being organized by the Ministry of Culture as a tribute to the beats and Biranganas, brave hearts who have made the supreme sacrifice for the country. Around 20,000 volunteers with Kalas Urun containing the soil in their possession with reached Delhi to participate in event culminating in the year-long Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. According to the official sources, volunteers would collect the soil from every household as a mark of respect to the people who had sacrificed their lives for the nation. In cases where the soil was not available, people can contribute a grain of rice. The soil that gets collected would be used in the Amrit Batika, a special garden being created in Delhi along with an Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav memorial to facilitate the movement of volunteers. The Ministry of Railways would operate special Amrit Kalash Yatri train add additional coaches in scheduled trains and facilitate release of berths from emergency quota depending upon the demand. These trains would have halt at major station from Meerut for meet and greet with local members of parliament, celebrities and officials. In the return journey from the national capital, the special train would run from Delhi to the respective destination on November 1. No representation from some states. The sources said a total 16,258 people had enrolled to carry 4,869 orons with the soil sourced from the almost all states in the country. However, there was no representation from Tamil Nadu, West Bengal, Telangana, Bihar, Himachal Pradesh. The maximum participation was from the Uttar Pradesh, followed by Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan. Asked why there were no participation from Tamil Nadu and a few other states, a senior railway spokesperson said the probe. Then army held over 400 meetings with civil society group. The army and the Assam Rifles conducted over 400 security meetings with civil society organization, village chief and shopkeeper in the past 2 months to bring normalcy in violence hit Manipur. An official said over 250 interactions have been held with the internally displaced person across the state in both hills and valley districts with resolution of grievances by constant liaison with civil administration and distribution of essential items. The official claimed that around 500 people who were living in relief camps had returned to their homes in Pugaku Chau Ikahi in Bisnupur district, a Mitai populated area. On October 16, the army tweeted that it along with the police and a local who have recently returned from relief camps to Pugachau Ikahi planted 1,000 saplings to conserve nature with the hope and prayer for early return of peace. Medical camps. The official added that over 400 medical camps across the state were also organized. The security forces are engaging with the youth by organizing various sports tournaments, conveying important messages such as abstaining from violence and drugs. Said the official, around 5,600 weapons and ammunition were looted from police armories since the start of violence, out of which around 1,400 weapons have been recovered. The security forces are conducting combining operation to recover the weapons of the officials said in the past 10 days. 72 weapons, including AK-47 rifles, mortars, hand grenades, have been seized from Kakching, Bisnupur, Churachandpur, Imphal East, Imphal West, Thoubal and Kangpokpi district. The next Gaganyaan mission ISRO is set for fastest flight today. The Indian Space Research Organization on October 21st will conduct the Gaganyaan's first flight test vehicle abort mission 1 TVD1, which will demonstrate the performance of a crew escape system. The TVD1 will lift off at 8 a.m. from the first launch pad of the Satish Dhawan Space Center in Sriharikota, according to ISRO. The test vehicle developed for this abort mission is a single-stage liquid rocket. The payload consists of a crew module (CM) and a crew escape system (CES) with their fast-acting solid motors, along with CM fairing, CMF, and interface adapter. The CM is where the astronauts are contained in a pressurized Earth-like atmosphere condition during the Gaganyaan mission. For the TVD-1, the CM is on an unpressurized version. This flight will simulate the abort condition during the ascent trajectory corresponding to a number of 1.2 encountered in the Gaganyaan mission. CES with CM will be separated from the test vehicle at an altitude of about 17 km. Subsequently, the abort sequence will be executed autonomously, commencing with the separation of a CES and deployment of the series of parachutes, finally culminating in the safe touchdown of CM in the sea about 10 kilometers from the coast of Sriharikota. ISRO said the entire duration of the flight from lift-off to CES and CM separation to deployment of parachutes and touchdown of the crew module in the sea about 10 kilometers from the coast of Sriharikota will be completed in about 8.5 minutes. The ISRO said that the Indian Navy will lead to recovery of the TB-D1 CM after touchdown. Recovery ships positioned at a safe range in seawater will approach the CM and the team of drivers will attach a buoy hoist the same using a ship crane and bring it to the shore. The objective of this mission is the flight demonstration and evaluation of test vehicle subsystem, evaluation of CES including various separation system and CM characteristics and declare deceleration system demonstration and higher altitude and its recovery. Simply put, the object of the mission is to check the safety of the CES for its capabilities to take CM to safety in the case of an emergency that will require ISRO to abort the mission. The Gaganyaan mission aims to demonstrate the capability to launch human beings with three crew members to low Earth orbit and bring them back safely to Earth by landing them in either the Bay of Bengal or the Arabian Sea. Prior to the first crew flight, three test vehicle TV flights have been planned: TV1, TV2, and TV3. Saturday will be the first flight and the beginning of the next year. One more unnamed flight will carry the humanoid Brahmomitra. Then next, a army official discuss lessons from Israel-Ukraine conflict. Army commander analyzed geostrategic issues such as the Russia-Ukraine war and the Israel-Hamas conflict at a conference which concluded on Friday. According to an army statement, deliberation at the Army Commanders Conference also focused on making the Short Service Commission for the officer more attractive, conducting internal examination online and establishing speedy mechanism to address issues faced by veterans. Currently, several internal exams like promotion boards and so on are held in physical format for which personnel have to travel from remote areas, which takes them away from their duty stations. Going online which will save the efforts. Similar in the case with junior commissioned officer and other ranks who have several exams for upgrades which they attend in person. A source explained the Apex Army leadership was addressed by the Defense Ministry Rajnath Singh, the Chief of Defense Staff, the Chief of Army and the Air Force, and the government's principal scientific advisor Ajay Kumar Sood, who spoke on leveraging technology for national security. Mr. Singh emphasized the need to draw lessons from the ongoing geopolitical crisis and conflict in West Asia, highlighting the need to readiness while expecting the unexpected. The leadership brainstormed current and emerging security scenarios reviewed operational preparedness and delve into foundational aspect of organizational structures and evolving training regimes, the army said. The next, no political strings in our support to Xi Jinping to Sri Lanka. और नेक्स्ट जो है पाकिस्तान एंड श्रीलंका साइन 20 डील्स ड्यूरिंग प्राइम मिनिस्टर ककर्स विजिट. China will continue to assist Sri Lanka without any political strings attached and help the country cope with difficulties. President Xi Jinping told his Sri Lankan counterpart Ranil Wickremesinghe on Friday, according to an official statement. Even as Colombo attempt to finalize a debt treatment plan with its creditor, including the Asian giant. Mr. Wickremesinghe is in Beijing for the Third Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation, noting that Sri Lanka was among the first group of countries to join China's ambitious connectivity project. Mr. Xi said China would work with Sri Lanka to jointly promote high quality Belt and Road cooperation and push for new progress in developing China Sri Lanka strategic cooperative partnership featuring sincere mutual assistance and lasting friendship. The two sides pledged greater collaboration on international and regional affairs, oppose politicization of human rights issues and block confrontations and safeguard common interest of the two countries and developing countries. The Chinese statement said China has also expressed a willingness to increase its imports from Sri Lanka and promote more Chinese investment in the island nation. Statement issued by both sides said notably a press statement from Mr. Wickremesinghe's office mentioned Mr. Xi's assurance of friendly, practical and timely support for Sri Lanka's debt optimization program, but the statement from the Chinese side made no mention of debt owed by Sri Lanka or an agreement on its treatment as the island nation struggled to get out of its crushing economic meltdown. All the same, a 19-point joint statement issued by the two governments later on Friday said China will continue to support its financial institutions, including in conducting friendly consultation with Sri Lanka to reach a early agreement on debt treatment. The Chinese side is willing to work with relevant countries and international financial institutions to keep playing a positive role in helping Sri Lanka address its current difficulties, alleviate debt burden, and realize sustainable development. The Sri Lanka commended China for its support to Sri Lanka to ease financial difficulties. It said further, Sri Lanka firmly support actively participates in the Global Development Initiative (GDI) and Global Security Initiative (GSI) and Global Civilization Initiative (GCI) proposed by China. According to the joint statement, Sri Lanka's decision came a month after Nepal declined to join Mr. Xi's Global Security Initiative when Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal Prachand visited Beijing last month. Meanwhile, the International Monetary Fund on Friday said it reached a staff level agreement with Sri Lanka on economic policies to conclude the first review of its 48-month-long package. Following the IMF Executive Board's approval, Sri Lanka will have access to about $330 million. Its second tranche of extended fund facility from the fund. Although microeconomic policy reforms are starting to bear fruit and the economy is showing tentative signs of stability, IMF senior mission chief for Sri Lanka Peter Brewer told the media on Friday morning that approval from the fund's executive board is contingent on critical next step of Sri Lanka securing an agreement with its official creditors on a debt treatment. On Thursday, President Wickremesinghe's office said that the Chinese Finance Minister Liu Hun reaffirmed Beijing's commitment to extend comprehensive support for the implementation of a medium-term and long-term program mutually beneficial to both parties and aimed at optimizing Sri Lanka's debt. Sri Lanka has been in talks with all its official creditors, including China, India, and Japan, who are its three largest bilateral lenders. Sri Lanka has assured both India and Japan of creditor parity and transparency, which would mean that if Sri Lanka negotiates a moratorium of a revision of its loan maturity period of interest rate, the term would be comparable for all creditors. Then Pakistan China signed 20 deals during PM Kakar's visit. If Pakistan and China have a linked Pakistan and China have inked 20 agreement and MOUs during the maiden visit of interim Prime Minister Anwar ul Haq Kakar to enhance cooperation under the Beijing-backed Belt and Road initiatives, according to a joint statement issued on Friday during the visit. The two sides signed 20 agreements and MOUs covering cooperation on BRI in infrastructure, mining, industry, green and low carbon developments, health, space cooperation, digital economy development cooperation, and export of agricultural product to China, the joint statement state. The next global uncertainties have risen over the past fortnight. Interest rate will remain high and any change will depend on where the world evolves. Reserve Bank of India Governor Shaktikant Das said on Friday, highlighting emerging uncertainties in the global economy in the fortnight since the latest monetary policy review, referring to the recent spurt in US bond yields to a record high combined with policy pronouncement from the central bank globally with mixed data points. Mr. Das asserted that while central banks must remain agile to this development, the first line of defense must be stock exchanges and financial institutions. Existing uncertainties have been exacerbated, he noted, like the rise in crude oil prices and the persistent volatility in financial markets. Asked about higher for longer interest rate protects prospects at the Kautilya Economic Conclave, Mr. Das said central bank must be vigilant about the growth inflation dynamic while watching over the price rise. Mr. Das said a slowdown across economies creates other challenges for financial stability, so I would not venture to say how long interest rate will be high. I am not giving a forward guidance, only time and the way of the world is evolving will tell, he noted. Then household consumption propping of economy. Controlling inflation and while also boosting household consumption to support growth remained the main concern at the most recent monetary policy committee MPC meeting held between October 4-6. The minutes of which were released on Friday. MPC member Prof. Jayant R. Burma in his Professor Jayant R. Burma in his statement wrote that since the August meeting, risk to inflation had marginally increased and a small shortfall in rainfall coupled with the spatio-temporal dispersion could cause volatility in food prices. He noted that could cause few short-lived inflation spiked rather than a sustained rise in inflation, highlighting that growth outlook had improved modestly due to consumer confidence as indicated in RBI survey. Mr. Burma said this must be seen in light of household financial saving data released in September. Data shows consumers incurred financial liabilities and reduced savings to support consumption. Mr. Burma noted willingness to consume at the cost of reducing saving is important because it is a household consumption that has been propping up the economy in the face of headwinds from the fiscal consolidation, weak external demand at the end, tepid capital investment, he added. देन आज का जो लास्ट आर्टिकल है, मालेशिया आइज इंडिया टू बूस्ट टूरिज्म भाया रूस्टिक होम स्टेज. Malaysia is gearing up to sell rustic homestays to school universities, women groups, professionals, and families in India. A tourism Malaysia delegation meets school and college authorities, corporates, professionals, groups, and trade bodies in Bengaluru, Chennai, New Delhi, Mumbai, Kochi, and Amritsar to showcase the country's diverse rustic homestays option spread under 212 cluster across 474 villages where 3,120 homestay entrepreneurs are spearheading the sector. Dato Sahariman Hamdan, President Homestay Malaysia, told the Hindu. Mr. Hamdan said, homestays currently account for 5% of Malaysia's tourism business, while the foray into the India may help the country double the share to 10% by 2025. Focus in India and China. Malaysia is currently able to attract only 50,000 foreign students. India and China will be its focus geographies to grow the sector considerably, according to the Rajai ABD Rahim, Director South India and Sri Lanka Consulate General of Malaysia, Malaysia Tourism Promotion Board. A robust air connectivity to India makes Malaysia buoyant on prospect of selling homestay in India. There are 172 direct flights between various Indian cities and Kuala Lumpur every week between Malaysia Airlines, Air Asia, Indigo and Batik Air with a seating capacity of more than 35,000. Chennai alone has 35 direct flights to Kuala Lumpur every week. So friends, this is all for today and we will meet from tomorrow onwards. So till then, thank you and keep studying. Thank you.